Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, had a deep connection to the small town of Tupelo, Mississippi. Few people know that this legendary star's influence went beyond just music. It transformed a town and left an indelible mark on its residents. One local man, Steve Holland, who has known Tupelo for over 55 years, explains it simply. Elvis was our local hero. People here adored him, almost like a celebrity from their own backyard. The story begins with a young Elvis visiting his parents in Tupelo. It wasn't just his music that impressed, it was his humility. Despite being a rising star, he didn't let fame go to his head. In fact, he once went to a local fair wearing overalls and a police uniform, surprising everyone. This humble side of Elvis was something the locals cherished. They remembered how he'd come back to Tupelo, not seeking the usual star treatment but blending in, even with his love for guns and police uniforms. One day, Elvis showed up at a local event dressed in a police outfit, complete with a fake gun. The townspeople weren't scared, they were thrilled. They made him an honorary deputy, showing how much he meant to them. It was a moment that highlighted Elvis's connection with his roots and his community. Local legend Robert Norris, who worked with Elvis back then, recalls how the crowd would go wild whenever Elvis visited. They weren't just fans, they saw him as one of their own. Even the local police station, used to dealing with tough situations, was charmed by the young Elvis. They even gave him a special badge, acknowledging his unique place in their town. Steve Holland, now a state legislator, knows Tupelo's secrets. As an undertaker, he's seen his fair share of lives, but Elvis's impact was different. Holland believes that if Elvis had lived longer, he could have done even more for Tupelo, perhaps becoming a prominent figure in mainstream politics. Yet Tupelo's love for Elvis isn't just about nostalgia. It's also about the economic benefits his legacy brings. The town's tourism industry thrives on Elvis fans visiting Graceland, his mansion, and other local spots tied to his life. However, some locals, like Steve Holland, wish the town received more support from the state to fully capitalize on this. He dreams of turning Tupelo into an Elvis Presley village, where fans can immerse themselves in the king's world. For the people of Tupelo, Elvis isn't just a part of history, he's a living part of their identity. His spirit continues to influence the town, a testament to the enduring power of a young man who rose from humble beginnings to touch the world with his music. Even after all these years, talking about Elvis in Tupelo brings a mix of pride, joy, and sometimes a hint of what could have been if he were still alive. But for the residents, Elvis Presley will always be their own, a shining star who never truly left their hearts or their town. Elvis Presley's connection to Memphis is deep and rich, a place that became synonymous with rock and roll, the very music that launched his legendary career. Memphis was not just a city to Elvis, it was a second home, a place that embraced him and his music, and in return he brought fame and a new energy to its streets. When the Presley family moved from Tupelo to Memphis in 1948, rock and roll was just starting to take shape. It wasn't about rhythm yet, it was about the raw energy and sounds coming from the river boats along the Mississippi River. For young Elvis, this was a world he quickly immersed himself in. The city was buzzing with music, a mix of bluegrass and something entirely new, setting the stage for what would come. Elvis's friends from those days remember him with a mix of awe and humor. They recall a boy with a guitar, often made from simpler materials like old tennis rackets, strumming away, dreaming big. It wasn't everyone who saw the star in him, but those who did, knew music was changing and Elvis was at the forefront. As Elvis grew, so did his music, blending different styles and creating something unique. This was a time when the airwaves were filled with the sounds coming from Memphis, a city becoming a melting pot of musical influences. Elvis would often visit the Peabody Hotel, a landmark where the sound of his future could be felt. Nearby, at the Heartbreak Hotel, today a symbol of his legacy, the echoes of his early performances still linger in the imagination of those who know the city's music history. The people who knew Elvis back then often express a mix of pride and surprise. They remember him as just another kid with big dreams, yet they also knew his talent was special. Teachers from his old high school, Hums High, now filled with modern theaters and equipment, still have stories. They talk about Elvis and his friends, some of whom would carry guns, a reminder of the tough side of life in that part of town back then. But those same friends would pick up their guitars, dreaming of stardom, inspired by Elvis's own dreams. Memphis embraced Elvis and his music wholeheartedly. The city proudly honors his memory, with Elvis Presley Boulevard named in his honor. Driving down this street, one can almost hear the music that once filled the air, played on loudspeakers near iconic spots like the Heartbreak Hotel. The Elvis radio broadcasts capture the essence of a city that never forgot, sharing interviews and music that transport listeners back to a time when rock and roll was just beginning to rock. The city's transformation alongside Elvis's rise to fame is remarkable. What was once a quiet, law-abiding district saw a change, mirroring the turbulence and excitement of Elvis's own journey. The gun-carrying teenagers of today stand in stark contrast to the peaceful past, yet both tell stories of a city in transition, fueled by the power of music. For Memphians, Elvis is more than just a famous son, he's a part of their identity, a symbol of the city's spirit. His influence reshaped not just the music scene, but the very heart of Memphis. As the city continues to celebrate his legacy, it's clear that Elvis Presley and Memphis are forever intertwined, each defining the other in ways that resonate to this day. Elvis Presley's time at Hums High School was a mix of excitement and challenges. Moving from the small town of Tupelo to the bigger city of Memphis was hard for him. Everything was new and different. But it wasn't just the change of place that made things tough for Elvis. Being one of the few poor kids in a school with more well-off students also made things complicated. At Hums, Elvis was quiet and kept to himself at first. He stood out with his long hair and unique style, which was different from what most kids wore back then. Some kids made fun of his hair, but Elvis had friends who stood by him. One of these friends was Red West, a strong athlete who protected Elvis from bullies. Red's cousin, Sonny West, also became a close friend and supporter. Elvis wasn't just known for his looks or his music at school. He was also curious about careers that weren't just about showbiz. He wanted to be a policeman, just like some of his friends. This desire might have been influenced by how much respect the police had in his family. His father, Vernon, had served time in jail, but was seen as someone who could turn his life around. As Elvis settled into school life, he found joy in small things. He loved being part of the school band and performing in shows. There was a memorable occasion when he sang a ballad like Old Shep, showing everyone he had a great voice. Elvis was also part of a fun event called Musical Hats, where boys in drag competed in a beauty show. This shows how open and playful the school environment was despite the social challenges. The school itself was a melting pot of talent. Besides Elvis, there were future business leaders like Charles Contras, who became CEO of Cisco Foods, and Paul Duncan, the CEO of Reebok. Even in those days, the school produced individuals who would succeed in various fields. This mix of future stars alongside Elvis made Hums a unique place. Elvis's friendship with George Klein, another class president, was especially important. George saw talent in Elvis even when others didn't. He supported Elvis in his talent show and later became a key figure in Elvis's life. This friendship shows how having someone who believes in you can make a big difference. Despite the friendships and opportunities, Elvis still faced prejudice. Being different in style, interests, and later in his music meant he wasn't always accepted, but Elvis didn't let this stop him. He kept pursuing his dreams, whether it was music or his desire to help others, like wanting to join the police force. In the end, Elvis's time at Hums was a period of growth and self-discovery. It was a place where he found friends, faced challenges, and began to shape the person he would become. His journey from a shy kid in Tupelo to a star in Memphis started here, with the friendships and experiences that helped him believe in himself and his dreams.